CIT 1122, Packet Tracer 1.3.6. In this lab, we're going to set up SSH. It's pretty easy. Try to give a little commentary just to give it a little bit of flavor. It's just one skill, so it should be a pretty short video. If we take a quick look at it, there's a PC and a switch. They're both connected to the same subnet. The PC is at 10 and the switch is at 10.10.10.2. You're going to start by telnetting into the switch. We don't really want to telnet anymore. It's insecure, no one uses it. So we're going to go ahead and change that default over to SSHing, which is a much more secure way to get to the exact same command prompt without having to use a console cable to connect in. Okay, easy enough. So part one, secure the password, use a command line, and PC1 to telnet into S1. So we'll go to desktop here. We're going to go to our command line just for fun. Do a little IP config, make sure that we have an IP address. This looks good. Ping 10.10.10.2, make sure it's there. And it should come up A-OK. This is taking way too long. There it goes. So I think we're in service now. We're going to go ahead and telnet in. Telnet 10.10.10.2. And we're there. The password is Cisco, super insecure. The privilege level password is also Cisco. There we go. So it's so funny when we're teaching security and then we just make the password Cisco all the time. That's fantastic. Okay, so first thing they want us to do is save the configuration in case you blow it up. Of course, it is a packet tracer. So if you get lost and it doesn't work out, just close the whole thing out and just start over again. This isn't that long of a lab. But we'll do a show run. And one of the things it's going to show us here is that all of the passwords, the enable password is Cisco, and the telnet passwords, the line VTY passwords, first of all, they set up all 15, 16 lines. So lines 0 through 4, password is Cisco, and lines 5 through 15, password is Cisco. Easy enough. Okay. Login is set, so you can just log in, and if you typed in the correct password, it will let you in, just like it did. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and save the config, and then we're going to add the command service password encryption. And what you're going to see is these passwords that say Cisco here and here, and as we go up even here, because they do the enable password instead of the enable secret, these are all going to get encrypted or at least hashed out into a different value. So if someone was shoulder surfing you, they wouldn't be able to read what the password is. So let's do that. So config T and service password encryption. Service password encryption done. At this point, we can look at these again, and these passwords will be hidden. So do show run, and you can see here that the enable password has now been hashed out. And if we go down to the bottom, you can see that these passwords have been hashed out as well. You'll notice that these are the same exact hashes because there's no salt. It's just a direct correlation between Cisco and whatever hashing algorithm they used. I think it's MD5, but I'm not sure. It can't be MD5, it's too short. It's got to be something else. So anyway, it's a direct correlation. There's only one variable when they change the password out. So somebody could take this and say, hey, I know that they hid their passwords and they used whatever Cisco's default hashing algorithm is. And you could take this and put this in on the internet, and it would resolve it back to Cisco. So make your passwords more complicated. This is just a lab, though, so who cares, right? All right, so that's done, and we got 20% of the points on that. Let's do this. Copy, run, start to save save it before we begin, and we're in good shape. So we've done everything in part one. That's finished. Part 2, encrypt communication. So let's go ahead and do what it says. The name of the lab is configure SSH. Let's set up SSH. SSH has a few different parts. A couple things about SSH. You have to have a domain name in order to set it up. There's actually a different way you can do it without a domain name, but as far as we're concerned with CCNA, set it up with a domain name. So you will go ahead and do the domain name first. And then we're going to generate the key pair. So what SSH is doing is it's making a key pair. We'll do a video on how SSH works, and you should be able to find that video pretty easily. But no time for that in this. Let's just get down and dirty and finish the lab so that you can you can score your points and you can go home, right? So let's go ahead and set that up. So we're going to set the domain name first, which I think is salt for, or is a variable for making the keys. I'm pretty sure that's why they've set it up that way. I don't totally know if that's true, but I'm pretty sure it is. So we'll do IP domain dash name, and we're going to set that to netacad.pka, and that gives us some points, so that's a pretty good thing. And then we're going to go ahead and set up our keys. Keys are easy to do. It's just crypto key generate RSA, which is the type of key we're going to make. Hit enter, and the keys are supposed to be 1024 bits, so we'll set it to 1024 bits. And it gets us to 60 points. Cool. Okay, good. All right, so the application to make the key pairs has been created. And the next thing we need to do is implement the key pair system so that the device will talk to other devices. So right now, port 22, which is what SSH uses, is still turned off. It's turned off, and we don't have a username and a password, which is required to use SSH. So let's do that piece first, I guess. So step 2 says make an administrator user with Cisco as the secret password. Okay, not a big deal. That's pretty easy to do. So it's username, and they want the username to be administrator. Now, first time I did this lab to go through it just to test it, I typed in admin and then did secret password and Cisco, and it didn't work. And I'm like, oh man, they must have the password wrong. They're looking for all of administrator here. So that was a pitfall that I just seen just from just going through the lab to score the points. Username administrator secret Cisco is what they're looking for. So when we log in, we're going to not log in as admin Cisco, but log in as administrator Cisco. All right, that's done. Scored some points there. That's pretty good. And it says create administrator account with Cisco as a secret password. We just did that. Configure the VTY lines to check the local user database for login credentials and to allow SSH for remote access. Remove the existing line VTY password. So there's 3 things that we have to do, all at the VTY lines, and we're going to do them all in bulk. So there's 16 lines 0 through 15 that can be configured with different configurations. We're going to hit them all at one time. So we're going to go line VTY 0 space 15. This will give us all of the lines to configure at once. So 0 through 15. Good. And the first thing it says, set them to look for the local database. So when you log in, it is login local. Login local just says this. It says that when someone goes to log in and they type in a prompt for username and password, that this database of usernames of one entry with the administrator and Cisco account is going to be used. So it's going to look to that database to authenticate users. That's what this does. This ties the username command to the login for SSH. Great. All right, the second thing is set it up to only allow SSH remote access. Okay, great. So right now we logged in with Telnet, and Telnet works on port 23. So on our on our switch, port 23 is open, and it's accepting connections based on the way the device was configured. But now we're changing that so that it will accept communications only on port 22 for SSH. So to do that, we're going to type in the command transport input, and then we have some options here. You can make more than one type of input if you want. Just do a question mark there so you can see them all. So you could do all, none, or SSH, or Telnet. So it says only SSH, so we're going to type in transport input SSH. Done. Good. And the last thing it says is remove the existing line password from this link. So we'll just do no password, and then we scored all our points. Now, please don't turn the video off yet. We're gonna go ahead and try and log in remotely now. So let's do an exit and an exit and an exit again, and we're out. We're back to our PC, right? So let's try and telnet back in again. So let's go telnet 10.10.10.2, and it fails. It does not work. Okay, so now let's try to SSH. So when we do an SSH, they do a nice thing in this lab. They're like, try SSHing from the command line, which is something that's generally turned off on Windows devices. So it tells you, it says, oh, type in SSH and hit enter, and it'll show you the path you'll need to use or how it's going to happen. So you type in SSH dash lowercase l, the username you want to use, and then the target, which is the IP address. So let's do that. So we're going to go SSH dash l administrator, and the target is 10.10.10.2. And it says, what's the password? And the password is Cisco. And we made it in. And now we're all good to go. So show run. And you can see that everything's been set the way that it's supposed to. And we've now taken an insecure router and we've made it a secure router. So good for us. You scored all your points at this point. If this was an assignment for you, then you would turn that in. For the students in my class, this is just informational. We're going to do things that are much more difficult for graded elements. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.